Hi Verse, it's me the Angel Man here today to give you guys another video. Welcome back Verse. Today I'm here today to talk about the recent pay-per-view event between KSI and Swarms, KSI and Luis Pineda, I believe that's how you said his name was. Then we had Deji versus Fousey. We have King Kenny versus Facesensei. Then we had Face Temper versus Slim. Oh yeah, those were all the matches that had my interest. There were some other matches too. There were like at least 2-3 others, and for those ones I really don't care for. There weren't really matches that honestly had my attention. But yeah, Burst, definitely there were some surprises. There were definitely some highlights, and then there were also some disappointments. So I'm looking forward to talking about them and giving you guys my reaction, my thoughts, and what I also thought about the pay-per-view. So with that said though, Burst, let's get to it. Okay, well, the pay-per-view first. Let me talk about that. So, I had to go on Danaz subscription, if I said the subscription correctly. I was told that the pay-per-view will only be $10. And it is. It is only $10. But what did irritate me about getting the pay-per-view was the fact that, unfortunately, if you want to get the pay-per-view, you have to pay for the subscription. So the pay-per-view wasn't necessarily just $10. The subscription, from what it was on, was an additional $20. So you're paying $30 to watch the pay-per-view. That part did irritate me. Because I was like, alright, if the subscription is anywhere from like what, like $7 to $10, maybe $12, okay. No, it was $20. So I was just like, I was like, alright, I wasn't really expecting to pay $30 for this pay-per-view. Not that it's bad, but I was honestly like, man, I was really looking forward to just paying $10. I had to buy the subscription while then buying the pay-per-view right over that as well. So I'm pretty sure that was definitely irritating for a lot of people. But then once the pay-per-view started, it was definitely entertaining to watch right off the bat, but then it was also very disappointing. There were definitely some hype up moments for sure when watching the pay-per-view. It was tricky for me too because I was at work, and then I found out that the pay-per-view started at 11 in the morning, and I was like, oh my god, I thought it was going to be in the afternoon, like 12 or 1 or something like that. I was like 11, so that really got me frustrated. But then when talking about the pay-per-view, I did manage to watch it live, and it was interesting. So Verse, right off the bat, my thoughts on the pay-per-view. That's right. Well, let's talk about the first match between KSI versus Swarms. The match that so many people got frustrated, including myself. I made a video talking about it, where everybody said that originally KSI was supposed to go up against Alex Wasabi. Wasabi ended up getting a concussion, then he got a replacement. Then it turns out that the guy was some sort of a Nazi, so then he got replaced, and then they ended up bringing a backup for the backup, which was Swarms. Then nobody liked the backup that was for the backup because it turns out that nobody knew who this guy was. People were saying, who is Swarms? Nobody never heard of him. Turns out he was just some random small rapper that was in the UK, and I guess he said that he had beef with KSI, but then even KSI was like, I don't know what he's talking about. Like, I don't know if he's just trying to hop up the fight, but I don't really know what I did. So it was just like, I guess we're just gonna go at it and just see what happens. So then, because people reacted heavily to the announcement of him going against Swarms, then he announced, okay, I'm gonna be fighting another fighter, and this guy is named Luis Pineda. I'll talk about him later, but the match between KSI and Swarms, well, it was kind of a no-brainer when you think about it. He goes up against Swarms immediately within like the first 5 to 10 seconds. KSI throws a punch, Swarms gets knocked back so hard, it was predictable. I laughed because immediately I was like, okay, I think it's safe to say we know where this is gonna go. And sure enough, throughout the match, KSI was just dominating Swarms. And I know anybody can make this excuse, well, when you think about it, you know, he only had 2 weeks. And that is true. Swarms only had 2 weeks before the match came, because that's time when they needed to replace Alex Wasabi. So it wasn't entirely Swarms' fault. But I do clown him because of the fact that, for one, he made a diss track, and two, he was definitely trying to outdo KSI in certain things, and I was like, Swarms, stop. I was like, stop. You're not there yet, man. I was like, I appreciate you taking on the fight. I appreciate you like getting in the ring in general. I can give him credit for that. But for you to hype up and try to make it seem like you're gonna outdo KSI, dude, you have no experience. He even said he never boxed before, come on. And then throughout the whole entire match, he kept running away. He kept twirling too. Even the referee was trying to tell him, hey, stop twirling. Like, we don't do that here. This is boxing. Stop doing that. You can go side to side, you can back up, you can go forward, but you don't spin. I've never seen that before either. And then sure enough, KSI ended up knocking him down. The referee was trying to count to 10. He just stayed down and was like, okay, I can't do it. Yeah, KSI just got me. So that was a no-brainer. no-brainer. So I'm really glad that KSI didn't just have one fight on that one. Moving on to some of the next matches. The next one that had my interest that I was definitely looking forward to was King Kenny versus Facesensei. That match was really good. That was pretty much the closest interpretation to a pro fight that we had here. And it was interesting to watch too. You definitely saw Facesensei going up against King Kenny. He had good offense and defense. He had a good posture. He had stamina. He was really going good against King Kenny. Now King Kenny definitely held up his own, but when it came down to that, regardless, I was like, I really don't like King Kenny like that, especially after what happened in the last match between Face Temper and King Kenny, where it was clear that Face Temper won and then King Kenny ended up getting the W, and then people were like, what are you talking about? Face Temper won that fight. And then sure enough, Face Temper sent an appeal and then he ended up getting the win. People were like, what were these judges doing? Here in this match, it was good. Man, you got to see some good left hooks the whole entire time. Kenny was on the majority of the defense. Facesensei the whole entire time was definitely going at him back and forth. Facesensei, in my opinion, won that fight. I don't know why the judges keep giving Kenny this win. Now, it's not Kenny's fault, you know, like if he thought he won, he thought he won. He wasn't the one that was in charge of the score. But I just don't seem to understand what is it with these judges in London and with King Kenny that they keep giving him the win. Is it because they're all from the UK? Is that why? I'm just like, come on, you gotta be fair about it. So now, to my knowledge, I found out that Facesensei just sent out an appeal. So now we're just waiting for the result. So as of right now, I don't really know what's going on. So then after that match, when it comes down to Deji and Fousey, the match that people were saying should have been the main event, the match that everybody said surprised everyone, right? If not surprised, definitely hyped up the pay-per-view event, was the fact that Deji won. So when putting all his fights together, right, Deji's first issue was the fact that he didn't give it his all. Then in the second fight, he went in and he lost again because he had no stamina. He was completely out of shape. Then in the third one, he ended up having some stamina and he was slipping. He was on the defense really well, but he had no offense. So the whole entire time, it was just like, well, what were you there for? And then now in this one, he had stamina, he had defense, and he had offense. Right off the bat, Deji went left and right on Fousey. And I was surprised because when I saw Fousey, especially his body structure, I was like, oh damn, Fousey got ripped. I was like, he got ripped. He's taking it seriously. But despite that though, Deji put up a fight and he got him. Fousey in the end of this match, despite all the hits, especially some of the close-up hits too, Fousey ended up getting a messed up black eye, and he even got a broken nose that now requires 2 surgeries to fix too. That's how bad Fousey got knocked down. And Deji, everybody got so hyped for Deji because he finally, after 3 losses, finally got his first W. So congrats to Deji on that one, man. Hell to the yes on that one. I was really looking forward to that too. I was like, come on, Deji. I was like, you got this next fight. When I saw Fousey and I saw his body structure, I was like, all right. Oh shit. So good for Deji on that one. About the time he got his W, I was feeling bad for him a little bit. I was like, man, Deji just can't seem to catch a break, but I stand corrected. When it comes down to Face Temper versus Slim, that was the biggest shock of the night. I'm not gonna lie to you. That match pissed off a lot of people, including myself. Don't get me wrong, I completely underestimated Slim. I don't know too much about the guy. He definitely can back up his game, and most certainly he's funny. I can give him credit. He's hilarious. He even made Face Temper laugh hella times. Like, okay, I'll give you credit. Like, you're funny, but what the fuck, you know? When watching the match, I really wanted Face Temper to win. I'm a fan of Face Temper. I find him awesome. I think he has a pretty good attitude when it comes down to entering the ring. And when the match started off, it ended up pretty good. But then when the match was going, I noticed that Slim ended up really getting in some punches against Face Temper. And I was surprised because if you look at the match, you know, Slim doesn't really have a stance. He's just kind of like waiting. Where if you look at Face Temper, he has a professional stance. So you would think Face Temper would win. Instead, Face Temper started bleeding, he started getting hits to the head, and then at one point, he got knocked down. That was the biggest shock. Everybody was like, what? I couldn't believe that Slim won. So now I'm just like, okay, but I'm so pissed off because I was like, I wanted Face Temper to win. I couldn't believe that. And the way how Face Temper got knocked down made me go, oh, he's out. Oh man, I couldn't believe that. When it comes down now to the final fight between KSI and Luis Padilla, everybody was saying that this guy was supposed to be the pro fighter. And when you saw the highlight pictures, I was like, oh my god. I saw his picture. This is like this 2.0 version of Swarms, where Swarm took that first picture that everybody hated and people were like, what the fuck? This guy looks like he's asleep. And then he took a second one and people were like, Swarm, it's too late, stop. You already ruined your entrance. Just like when people say your first impressions are very important. You kind of fucked it up, so you should have started off with that, but we got this instead, so it doesn't really matter anymore. And then when you watch the fight, I was like, okay, definitely looking forward to seeing a little bit of a better match with somebody who actually knows what he's doing. Here, if anybody called me an idiot, I would not get upset or offended or anything somewhat, because man, if I was literally trying to stand up for this guy, and if I was like, no, Padilla's gonna knock KSI out, if I did any of that, I would feel so embarrassed, and I'm so glad I didn't do any of that, because wow, right out the bat, Padilla sucked. I don't mean to attack him, do anything like that, but man, this guy was annoying. This guy was disappointing. At one point, he pulled the Deji. Remember in Deji's second fight when he went down on one knee for a second? People were like, what was that? He did that. Right off the bat, he kept getting knocked down. He got knocked down like maybe like 7 or 8 times. Probably more to my knowledge. And then when watching the fight also, it was so frustrating because the whole entire time he kept complaining. I was like, what is the problem? Like, he kept complaining that KSI kept hitting him in the back of the head. At a few points, it kind of did look like that, but then in other points, I was like, no, it just looks like KSI just has a longer reach. So I don't think he was trying to do that. There was times where KSI kept giving him body shots and he kept complaining about the head. So I was like, what are you doing? And then at times when KSI was just doing normal things when it came to boxing, just throwing some left and right hooks and uppercuts, he kept complaining. I was just like, Luis, stop complaining, dude. Just throw some punches. The kid never drew punches. And when he did, it was just like a... And the whole entire time, Luis kept running. I was like, stop running. But I don't blame him, because when you look at his body structure compared to KSI, yeah, KSI clearly was way bigger than Luis Padilla. I think it's safe to say Luis definitely got paid. But when it came down to humiliation, yeah, I'm pretty sure it was just, yeah, I don't know how he's going to handle it, but yeah, it just wasn't there. Both fights for KSI were definitely disappointing. People were saying that the fight between KSI and Swarms was a lot better. I guess you could say yeah, but to me, not really. They were both very disappointing. Swarms didn't know what he was doing, and then Padilla knew what he was doing, but he kept complaining. And he didn't even try, so... Or maybe he was trying, but it just goes to show that he wasn't very good. Because Luis, his boxing record is basically 2 wins and 5 losses. I guess he can make that 6 now. So I was just like, oh man. But hopefully now, as KSI is going to get ready to do some other boxing events coming up, that hopefully he'll go up against better boxing opponents now, because he said this one wasn't really to be taken seriously. I can see why. Yeah, I want KSI to go up against better people. I even heard that Logan Paul is going to be part of the next one. The next one's supposed to be in January now. And Logan Paul is going to be going up against a pro fighter, and I'm looking forward to seeing that for sure. And I definitely want KSI to go up against Jake Paul. I really want to see that fight. I think it's safe to say the ring rust came off. I think it's safe to say that Jake Paul waited long enough. And I feel like, in my personal opinion, I feel like KSI is kind of avoiding Jake a little bit, because it's weird how they had this huge back and forth on Twitter, but then KSI was calling out hella people in the end, and he called out everybody except for Jake Paul. This pay-per-view event, it was somewhat disappointing, but it was also very entertaining. So regardless of it, did I enjoy it? Absolutely. I didn't really like the price for this though. I'll give it that. I think if they just said 20 bucks, just 20 bucks for the pay-per-view event, I would have been like, great, I'll pay for it. But having to pay for the subscription, which was $20, which was just crazy. $20 for a subscription service, that's crazy. And then an additional $10, like, damn, we're lucky this pay-per-view event wasn't 60 bucks. That would have been $80. That's crazy. But regardless of that though, verse, I did enjoy the fight. I do hope that, again, KSI goes up against some different opponents, because, wow, this was just... yeah, like this was nothing to really brag about. But regardless of that, verse, thank you very much for taking the time to watch my videos. Did you guys watch the event? Did you guys enjoy it, or did you guys not? Let me know. I'd be happy to hear it. So with that said though, verse, if you guys like what you saw, do me a favor, hit the like button, subscribe, and hit the notification for more content as always. Look forward to the next video, verse, and with that said, have an awesome day. Later, verse.